Hello everyone and welcome to a very nice game from the GRENKE Chess Open round 9, so the final round of the open section. We know that Magnus won the Invitational, he defeated Rapport in the finals. We've shown how he defeated him in the first game, and in the second game Rapport had 2 rooks for the queen, and he had several opportunities to take down Magnus and equalize the match, but he missed them, and in the end the second game ended in a draw, which made Magnus the victor of the match. So Magnus wins the Invitational, and now onto the open section. It is Serbian Grandmaster Velimir Ivic versus Hans Moke and Niemann, and both of them have excellent chances at winning the tournament. They are going into this final round with 7 out of 9, and with 7.5 or 8 out of 9, they have, well, excellent chances of winning the entire event. So let's see what happened here. Velimir with the white pieces opens with pawn to e4. Sorry about that. And we've covered a couple of his games on the channel, and if you've seen them, you know that he is quite an aggressive player and quite a great attacker. Pawn to c5, we have knight f3, d6, and d4. So okay, the open Sicilian captures. Knight to f6, knight to c3, and now pawn to a6, the Najdorf variation against the Sicilian, where I often say that literally any move for white here has a name, and it's considered to be a very strong line. And one such line is bishop to e3, which is called the English attack. Against the Najdorf, we have pawn to e5 challenging the knight, and now knight to b3. Other moves are also possible. You could go knight f3, you could go knight to e2, but knight to b3 is what Velimir goes for. Bishop to e6 by Hans, and pawn to f3, strengthening the e4 pawn. We have bishop to e7, and now queen to d2. And here, let's say knight bd7 or castles are the two most popular options. Hans goes for the immediate pawn to h5, says, I'm ready for your advance. You will not be playing g4 this game, sir. So okay, we have knight to d5. Velimir grabs the center. Knight captures. We have e captures and bishop to f5, which could be a little bit troublesome if you castle queenside, and let's get that. Let's say the rook comes to c8, but of course, again, this is nothing new. Bishop to e2, bishop to h4 with check, inviting white to sort of spoil the position with g3, but it doesn't really spoil the position. It's actually very good. g3, bishop to e7, and now queenside castles. And okay, position has been reached before, but in all of the games, knight to d7 was played, which is pretty standard. You want to clear the space for the rook to get into the game, and then you want to start advancing those queenside pawns. Maybe the knight comes to b6, maybe to c5. All depends on how white positions his pieces. But here we have pawn to a5 immediately by Hans, and it is now, as of move 14, that we have a completely new game. So let's see how Velimir adapts to this new situation. He goes bishop to d3, challenges Hans' strong bishop on f5, and bishop back to d7. Hans keeps the material on the board and is ready to continue pushing on the queen side. King to b1, freeing up the c1 square for the knight, a4, knight to c1, and now queen to a5. And it's a pretty standard idea in the Sicilian. Sometimes when you have castles on opposite sides, you will there will be a race. Of course, black will attack the queen side, white will attack the king side. But if white sort of controls too much space, it does make sense to trade off the queens. And we know from experience that in the Sicilian, once the queens come off the board, black should have a superior pawn structure. He does have the full center. He will play f5, and then, well, we say that he who controls the center shall win the game. So okay, queen captures on a5. You don't have to trade, but leaving the black queen on a5 can also be very dangerous. So here, Velimir trades. We have captures. Sorry, not to that. Rook captures on a5 and pawn to c4, grabbing more space, defending the d5 pawn. But now pawn to f5. Hans also grabs more space in the center, and those are now very dangerous pawns controlling all of these squares. h3, preparing g4, and rook back to a8. The rook is somewhat vulnerable on a5, can easily be attacked by the bishop, so it does make sense to bring it back. We have pawn to g4, and now pawn to g6. Captures, and pawn to c5. Now here, c5 is a bit rushed. You could also play just rook h to g1, trying to go after the g7 square, then let's say king to f7, and then you maybe play c5, but with an improved position. But here c5 came right away, and Hans just ignored it. He didn't play d captures on c5. He played knight to a6, going after the c5 pawn, inviting the capture on d6. So that's what Velimir played. We have captures, and now rook h to g1, going after the g7 square, king to f7, and now pawn to a3, stopping knight to b4, rook 8 to g8 by Hans. We have knight to e2, and knight to c5, putting pressure on the light square bishop, but of course bishop to c2, nicely controlling Hans's knight on c5. We have knight to b3, now allowing the capture. You could even double black's pawns here, but this is well, not the best for white, and you leave Hans with the bishop pair. This would be very strong for black. So instead, pawn to h4 was played, and now bishop to e7, going after the h4 pawn, the newly created weakness. And you could play bishop to g5. Maybe h4 was even played with the intention of bishop to g5, but now bishop to e7 prevents it, as if you played it now, okay, you could get this position, but then h4 and the pawn starts marching forward. So after bishop e7, pawn to f4 was played, and now rook captures on g1, rook captures and pawn to e4. Now locking down the light square bishop here, and it's not particularly useful. You don't really see this bishop coming to d1. Okay, maybe it can be done going after the h5 pawn, but probably just captures on b3 is the way to go. And also, if you try to hold on to the h4 pawn, because the h4 pawn is now also hanging, for example, bishop to f2, then the knight becomes a true nightmare. Knight d2 check, king to c1, knight f3 attacks the rook, attacks the pawn, and after you defend it, then you give up the g file for the rook, and once the rook comes to g8, then the rook comes to g2, and it's positionally a lost game. So instead, Velimir said, all right, you can take this pawn, I will take another one. He played knight to d4, attacked the knight on b3. Okay, bishop captures on h4, knight captures on b3, a captures and bishop captures. Now both players with the bishop pair, and rook to h7, not allowing any harassment with bishop to d4. We have d6 with check, bishop to e6 blocking, and now bishop to a4. So when both sides have the bishop pair, it's not that easy to go after your opponent's king, as you always have a bishop of the color that you need. So bishop back to d8, and now rook to h1, preparing to counter the h pawn. As you know, it's about to get pushed. Pawn to h4. We have bishop to f2 going after the pawn again, and now bishop to d5. A very, very strong move by Hans. You could also maybe try bishop to c4. Bishop to d5 is more precise. You want to free up the e6 square for the king, and there's nothing Velimir can do about the d6 pawn. We have rook to h3, and now king to e6. Pawn to d7, now okay, it is protected, but here comes bishop to c4. And now b5 is coming, and there's no way to counter that. So you could play something like b4, but still b5 will be played, and the pawn will be lost. So king to c1, and now pawn to b5. We have bishop to c2, and Hans just grabs the d7 pawn. You could also play king captures. Hans decided to play rook captures on d7, and it worked out very nicely for him, because after bishop captures on h4 was played, there's a very simple win here for Hans. It's the only move that wins, but an easy one to spot. But just in case you don't see it, feel free to pause the video and win the game and the tournament for Hans while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on attacking the pinned piece. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is rook to h7. This is what Hans played, and he was in this position on move 43 that Velimir Ivic resigned the game, and with it a chance at a win at this very nice tournament. Now, what I meant by capturing on h4 is nice right away, or why Hans captured with the rook, probably even to just allow this tactic. He could have played a4 here, Velimir, and then only after b captures, now you capture, and now after rook to h7, you have rook to c3 going after the light square bishop. But still, after a trade here, captures, the pawn on f4 is on a dark square, it's going to fall, and it doesn't matter. For example, captures, and now you have two connected pass pawns, and this is now winning for black. Let's say rook f1 check, king d2, rook f2 check. Now you have to guard the bishop, or if you go king to d1, let's say king e5, and you just go into the position. But yeah, here after rook to h7, you could potentially try and play this the exchange down, but it's not going to be easy. Like captures. Only hope might be to defend this pawn, but now comes e3, and look at this. This is covered. This is covered. Rook to h1 will just be very deadly. There's no way for you to actually play this. If you try bringing the king into the game, it's even a mate in one. So yeah, not very nice. So yeah, very nicely done by Hans with the black pieces in the final round, playing this very nice line where he kept his winning chances for as long as possible. He went into this both players having a double bishop endgame, and it worked out very nicely for him. And to check out his opponents, these are his opponents in the tournament. So first he defeated 4 players: Sebastian Raum, FIDE master Cedric Chassard, Andrei Svanda, and international master Jonas Rosner. Then he drew against Grandmaster Christopher Yu, then a victory against German FIDE master Leonardo Costa, then a draw against Turkish international master Yagis Kan Ertomus, and then a very strong finish, 2 strong victories against the Grandmaster Frederick Svane and Grandmaster Velimir Ivic in this game here. And these are the final standings of the first couple of players. You can see that Hans wins the tournament with sole lead with 8 out of 9. That's an incredible result. Followed by a whole lot of people with 7.5. Ivan Šarić, Vladimir Fedosev, Maxim Chigaev, Dmitry Kolars, Bryce Tigion, David Anton Giharo, Arjun Erigaisi, Kirill Shevchenko, Matthias Blubaum, Georgi Georgatse, and then even more people on 7 points. Also some incredibly strong grandmasters: Rasmus Svane, Frederick Svane, Marc-Andrea Maurici, the newly crowned junior world champion Gata Kamsky. I mean, the list goes on. So yeah, this was a very, very impressive victory for Hans. And I tried finding this information whether Hans now qualifies for the GRENKE Chess Classic next year to play with the big boys. I don't think he does. It's purely invitational, so he might be invited for winning the classic, but then again, he might not be. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely played by Hans, Magnus, and Hans, the 2 big winners of the GRENKE tournament. I would like to thank Joyful Chess Lover, Mr. Hoodie Guy, Andreas Rosenthal, Beaster Bunny, and Jeffrey Clayman for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And if you have any game that you really liked from the GRENKE Open or Classic, do use that hashtag suggestion, and I will gladly go over it. See you soon.